How can you possibly afford to just eat meat? We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Hello everyone, Semi-Retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. You might be asking yourself, what in the world am I watching here, Bob? Well, what you're watching is you're watching me walk. That's basically it. That doesn't seem super exciting until you realize that 14 months ago I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for 2.5 minutes without severe pain. Carnivore diet's changed all that. If you want to know the whole story, you can back and watch any one of my videos. I've got, I think it's 360 videos on my channel now. So check it out. You can get the whole story there. But I would like to say welcome to all the new people. I'm glad you're here. For those of you returning to the channel, I also want to say welcome. I'm glad you're here as well. It does mean an awful lot to me that you choose to spend a little bit of your day with me. As you can see, well, I don't know if you can tell or not, the rain just ended. The sidewalk is still wet. Not a bad morning to get a walk in. It's about 68 degrees out here, which a few months ago I would have found cold. And now that it's been blazing hot and humid, it actually feels pretty nice. So we're going to take a little walk this morning, see how far we get. There's some birds running around. It's a beautiful day in Omaha, Nebraska. Like I said, the storms just rolled through. It was a pretty heavy-duty thunderstorm there for a bit this morning. Well, let's talk about this. How can you possibly afford to just eat meat? Well, you know, at first glance, you think that's really expensive. But first of all, you know, unlike a bunch of the other people out there, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you have to have ribeye steaks every day. That would be awesome. If I could afford grass-fed, grass-finished, panda-massaged ribeye steaks every day, that would be awesome. But the cold hard reality is that I can't, most normal people can't afford to eat like that. But ground beef is a pretty good option. If you watch the sales, you can get roasts, you know, London broils and chuck roasts and all that kind of stuff. Buy it on sale, throw it in your freezer. I've talked about, you know, several times I've talked about the, you know, the good ways to save money on a carnivore diet. What I want to talk about this morning is, what are you comparing it to? Stop and think about this for a minute. You go to the grocery store and you buy a box of cereal. Well, obviously that's a box of cereal. You know, it's only $4 or $5. It's another $1 or $2 for the milk you're going to put on it. But if you look at it per pound, you know, take that whole great big box of cereal and crush it up so that it doesn't have the, you know, the flakies or the O's or whatever kind of shape it's in. If you crush that all up and then set it down on the counter next to a pound of ground beef, you'll find that the actual volume of food is about the same. The cereal might even be a little bit less. If you then look at the nutrient content, ground beef has way more. And it doesn't have all that sugar. It doesn't have all those seed oils. It's pretty good food. So, you know, you buy a box of cereal and then you go over to the produce section and you get yourself a lot of good looking vegetables, whether it be, you know, heads of lettuce, cucumbers, peppers, whatever it is you're buying. And you get some fresh fruits. Apples last a little longer, but because you don't want to just eat apples, you get yourself some plums or some pears or whatever it is you're getting. Then you take it all home, you throw it in the fridge. How many times have you, a week later gone, I think I want to eat some of those plums I bought. And you go in, you open the package up, you open the drawer up that you had them in, and there's a bunch of juicy mess in the bottom of the drawer because one of the plums was not quite as good as the others, and it caused the whole bag to go bad. Now you're throwing that away. What about all the snacks you eat throughout the day? The cereal bars, the fruit roll-ups, in deference to Dave, all the Pop-Tarts. You know who I'm talking about. How much does all that stuff cost you? So I think if you add it all up, just on the food, you're probably going to find that you end up saving money, even if you're eating ground beef and roasts and the occasional steak. Not ribeye, because those are still expensive, unless you find them on sale. But you get all that stuff, and that's just looking at the actual food costs. Now let's look at some of the other costs. How much do you have as a copay at the doctor's office? How often do you go? When you get healthier, you're going to need to go to that doctor every month or two because, they got to check your blood work and all that stuff. And I bet there's a copay for some of that too, depending on what insurance you have. What about the going to the pharmacy? Just for the prescriptions, I personally know. I used to spend a lot of money. I took 13 pills in the morning, 9 at night, plus pain pills. That's a lot of money. Even if you've got insurance, that's quite a bit of money. Start adding all that up. And if you're fighting type 2 diabetes or even type 1 diabetes, and you have to buy the glucose monitors, the testing strips, and the little sticky things you prick your fingers with, that's an awful lot of money. Start adding all that stuff up and see how much money you're spending on all that other stuff. That eventually, now I'm not saying you can stop buying it all right away if you switch to a carnivore diet, but eventually most of those expenses are going to go away. And that's where I made the switch from Spam, bologna, hot dogs, that kind of stuff, which is what I could afford when I first started because I was taking all those meds, paying all those copays for buying the drugs, going to the doctor, going to the pharmacy, buying the diabetes supplies. The list just goes on and on and on things that you were spending money on. And again, I can't say it'll be the same for you. I'm just telling you what I've experienced. You can save a lot of money, and it's at that point when my drugs started cutting down and my doctor's office visits started cutting down that I could then take that money and put it into buying ground beef and roasts and not having to buy, the cheapest hot dogs and the cheapest lunch meats I could get my hands on. But there's still nothing wrong with that. If that's where you're at and that's what you can afford, that's still certainly better than stuffing a bag of Cheetos in your face. So don't think that you have to go out You know, that's the one thing that I see influencers talking about the carnivore diet. You know, they're showing you, and they do look really nice. You know, these big fat ribeye steaks grilled on a, you know, $1,000 grill that gets up to 1,500 degrees. If we could all afford that, that would be fantastic. But the reality is most of us can't. And I'm trying to get the message out there that, you know, if you can afford to eat that way, that's it. That's the gold medal food. But if you're like me and can't really afford that kind of stuff, just eat what you can. And I still think you'll find, if you track it for 3, 4, 5 months, I think you'll find that your grocery budget actually goes down on the carnivore diet, because you're not spending money on all the extra stuff. You know, snacks. You know, how much do you spend on popcorn to make while you're watching TV or a movie at night? Or potato chips, or whatever your munchie of choice is while you're watching TV in the evening. And then, you know, when you're on the standard American diet, you're eating 3 times a day, plus 3 or 4 snacks throughout the day. If you stop and think about it, you're spending an awful lot of money to eat the standard American diet and not getting good nutrition. Which is how I've managed to switch over. I do still have a bunch of Spam in the garage and some other things, potted meat. But now they're sort of a backup just in case I need it. It's there. And you may have noticed I've walked a little further today than I've been walking. I felt a little guilty because this is Monday morning. And, you know, I've been trying to get out every day to get some walking in. I didn't get it done yesterday. Had another incredibly busy couple of days at the miniature golf course. And I must have just, it must have just caught up to me to where I've, you know, with all of the other things I'm doing on top of working at the miniature golf course, it just all caught up to me yesterday. I had almost no motivation. I did get some stretching in because my legs kind of hurt a little bit from all the working. As you can see, it's fine now. I'm out here walking again this morning. But Sunday was a real struggle day for me. So I did some light stretching. Did 1 set of push-ups and said, nah, I'm not going to do that today. So I only got about 20 push-ups in yesterday. We all have these days. So I wanted to get out and get a little extra in today. So I went around the block, the big block this time. And that took me, not quite 15 minutes. But you guys are doing great out there getting movement in every day for our July challenge. I added it up with all of the comments that I've gotten through the morning of the 16th. So through yesterday morning, we were at 1,217,000 steps as a channel. Think about that for a minute, folks. My channel, compared to some of the other carnivore channels out there, we're not that big. Yet as a group, we've gotten over 1 million steps in a half a month. I was 1.22 million. That's amazing. Great job, guys. We're halfway there, actually now a little over halfway there. Keep up the good work. I'm sorry I didn't get a whole lot of steps in yesterday. I did count the stretching as a couple of steps and the push-ups as a couple of steps to add into the total. But I did not get my part done yesterday. So hopefully this cranks up my step total a little bit. I can do my part to get the rest of the second half of the July challenge off to a really good start. That's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope it made some sort of sense. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I will see you in the next one.